Hey guys, welcome back to more HOA Karen Reddit stories. In today's Ripe Stories video, a wealthy entitled HOA president thought she could bully me into giving away free fuel. She screamed she threatened me and she even faked a police report. But there was one thing she did not count on and it cost her everything. Let's dive right into the video. And the first one is an HOA Karen story which is titled HOA President Demands Free Gas from My Station, Calls the Police When I Kicked Her Out. So for some context, I run a family-owned gas station and convenience store in the Philippines located right along a busy highway in a rapidly developing suburban area just outside Manila. So for context, my family built this business from the ground up. My parents started it with just 2 pumps and over the decades we expanded it into a full-service station with a clean modern convenience store, a mechanical bay and a solid reputation for fair pricing. I took over the daily operations about 5 years ago. I'm a pretty laid-back guy, I don't like drama, I don't like to look for trouble, and my general business philosophy is to treat everyone with respect, keep my head down, and ensure that my staff gets paid well. Right behind our commercial strip sits a high-end gated subdivision. It is one of those posh homeowner associations, short HOA, where the houses cost a fortune, the gates are manned by private security guards in uniforms, and the residents tend to think very highly of themselves. And for the most part, the residents are decent neighbors who buy our snacks, fill up their SUVs, and then go about their day. Then there is the HOA president, let's just call her Mary. Mary is the textbook definition of a power-tripping, ultra-entitled neighborhood dictator. She treats everyone like they are beneath her, especially service workers. My cashiers had warned me about her before, noting that she frequently demanded express service or complained if she had to wait in line for even a minute behind a delivery truck driver. I always told them to just remain polite, process her transactions, and get her out of the store as quickly as possible. I didn't realize that Mary didn't just want fast service, she wanted a tribute. It was a blistering hot Thursday afternoon when Mary made her move. I was behind the counter helping my main cashier, a young guy who was working his way through college because our afternoon rush was just starting. The glass door slid open and Mary marched in. She bypassed the short line of customers entirely and walked right up to the side of the counter and tapped her purse against the glass display. "Excuse me," she said, her voice piercing through the ambient noise of the store. "Are you the owner here?" "Yes, ma'am," I replied, keeping my tone perfectly neutral and professional. "I'm the owner, how can I help you?" She took off her sunglasses and looked at me as if she were doing me a massive favor just by speaking to me. "I'm Mary, the president of the homeowner association for the estate right behind your establishment. I'm here to finalize our community integration perks." I blinked. Community integration perks? "I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what you mean by that." Mary chuckled, a dry, condescending sound. "It's very simple. Your business shares a border with our premium residential community. Your fuel delivery trucks use the access roads near our perimeter, and your bright signs contribute to the light pollution near our main gates. And therefore, as a matter of good neighborly relations and corporate social responsibility, our residents deserve free gas from your station." The store went completely silent. My cashier stopped scanning a bag of chips. The customer at the register just stared at her. "Free gas?" I asked, making sure I understood her correctly. "You're asking for free fuel for your entire subdivision?" "Only for the registered homeowners, of course," she said, waving her hand as if she were being incredibly reasonable here. "We will issue an official HOA decal for our vehicles. So whenever a resident rolls up to your pumps, your attendants will simply fill their tanks and log it under our community perk account. It's an excellent way for you to show goodwill to the high-income demographic that lives right in your backyard." I stared at her for a few seconds, waiting to see if maybe this was some sort of hidden camera prank. But it wasn't. She was completely serious. She genuinely believed that because her subdivision was wealthy and nearby, I owed them free inventory. "Ma'am, I cannot do that," I said calmly. "Gasoline is a low-margin commodity. I pay my suppliers up front, and I pay heavy taxes, and I have utilities and a large staff to support. Giving away free fuel to an entire subdivision would bankrupt the station in like less than a week." Mary's face instantly hardened. Her polite facade dropped, revealing an immense, ugly arrogance. "Do you know who I am?" she snapped, leaning over the counter. "I control the narrative in that entire estate. If I tell our residents to boycott this eyesore of a station, your revenue will plummet. You should be begging for our patronage." "Mary," I said, dropping the ma'am since she had decided to abandon basic manners. "The retail price is what is posted on the digital boards outside. Everyone pays the exact same amount, whether they live in a mansion or a studio apartment. I don't give away free inventory." Seeing that her initial demand had failed miserably, she shifted gears. Though her entitlement remained fully intact, she crossed her arms and scoffed. "Fine, if you want to be completely uncooperative and stubborn about it, then at the very least our residents deserve a steep discount for being good neighbors and loyal paying customers. I expect a flat 30% discount on all premium fuel and a 40% discount on items inside the store for all HOA members." 30%? I almost laughed. "Mary, our actual profit margin on fuel is just a few pesos per liter. A 30% discount means I would be losing a massive amount of money on every single vehicle that pumps gas here. I would literally be paying your wealthy residents to take my fuel, so the answer is no." "This is ridiculous," she yelled. "We are the only reason a low-class business like this survives in this area. We are your loyal customers." At this point, I had enough of her disrupting my business and holding up the line. I leaned forward slightly, keeping my arms flat on the counter, and looked her dead in the eye. My tone remained entirely calm and level. "Mary, I'm going to ask you to leave the store now. You're causing a scene, you're delaying our actual paying customers, and I'm not gonna entertain these absurd demands any longer. Please step away from the counter and exit the premises." She looked absolutely stunned that a business owner was refusing to bow to her self-proclaimed authority. Her face turned a deep, angry shade of crimson. "You cannot kick me out, I'm a customer." "You're not a customer," I pointed out smoothly. "You haven't bought anything. You came in here to demand free stuff, and when that failed, you demanded a discount that would ruin my business. And now please leave before this becomes an issue." "If you don't give us our community discount right now, I'll make your life a living hell," she threatened, slamming her hand down on the counter. "I will call the authorities on this station for consumer discrimination and harassment." "Well, go ahead and do whatever you feel you need to do outside," I replied, nodding towards the sliding doors. "But you are leaving this building right now. Goodbye, Mary." Instead of walking out to her car like a normal person, Mary pulled out her smartphone, dialed the number, and immediately put it on speakerphone. She dialed the local police precinct directly, clearly having them on speed dial from her usual neighborhood reporting sprees. "Hello, police? I need an emergency dispatch to the gas station on the main highway right outside the main gate of our subdivision," she screamed into the phone, pretending to be in a state of absolute terror. "I am being violently assaulted by the owner. He is screaming at me, he cornered me, and he physically shoved me against the counter. I am trapped inside the store, and I fear for my life. Please send officers immediately." She hung up the phone and gave me a look of pure triumphant malice. She genuinely thought she had just trapped me in a corner. She believed the police would arrive, see a wealthy, well-dressed HOA president crying, and immediately dragged the local business owner off in handcuffs. "Now look what you have done," she sneered, her voice completely normal now, devoid of any of the panic she had just faked on the phone. "The police are on their way. When they get here, I'm going to make sure they shut this dump down permanently. You messed with the wrong woman, hehe." I just looked at my cashier, who was wide-eyed and terrified, and gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. "Don't worry about it," I told him quietly. "Just keep serving the customers who are waiting." I turned my attention back to Mary, who was standing in the middle of the store with her arms crossed, tapping her foot, looking like a victorious general, waiting for her troops to arrive. Within 20 minutes, a local police patrol car pulled into the station lot. And by the way, guys, if you still enjoy the HOA stories, please don't forget to like the video, because that would help me tremendously. Also, even if you have subscribed already, please click on the bell to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much. So, 2 officers got out of the vehicle and quickly walked into the store. I recognized them immediately. Our station frequently provides complimentary coffee to the local night shift patrols, and we got a great relationship with the precinct. The lead officer was a seasoned veteran who had been working this beat for over a decade. Mary did not even let them take 2 steps into the store before she launched into her performance. She let out a loud theatrical sob, ran over to the officers, and grabbed the lead cop's arm. "Oh, thank goodness you are here," she wailed, squeezing out a few fake tears. "It was horrible. That man behind the counter, he's a lunatic. I came here to peacefully discuss a neighborhood matter, and he completely snapped. He started yelling profanities at me, and he blocked the exit, and then he grabbed my shoulders and violently slammed me against a glass display. My back hurts terribly and I'm completely traumatized. You need to arrest him right now for assault." The lead officer looked from Mary over to me. He did not draw his weapon or reach for handcuffs. He just looked at me with a raised eyebrow, knowing my character and knowing the history of the station. "Chief," the officer said, addressing me directly. "Is this what happened?" "Not even close, officer," I replied calmly, keeping my hands visible on the counter. This lady walked into my store, demanded that I give her entire subdivision free gasoline, and then demanded a 30% discount. And when I told her no and politely asked her to leave because she was disrupting our business, she threw a tantrum and called you guys with a completely fabricated story. Mary gasped loudly. She was screaming, "He's lying, he's an aggressive criminal who attacks women. Are you really gonna take the word of a gas station worker over a prominent community leader? Look at him, he's trying to cover up his crime, look at my arm, it's practically bruised." The lead officer kept his cool. He gently disengaged his arm from Mary's grip and looked around the store. "Ma'am, please calm down," the officer said. "We take assault allegations very seriously, but we got a standard procedure to follow. We need to verify what happened, and—" "Verify?" Mary shrieked. "I'm telling you what happened. My word is all the verification you need. Just arrest him." "Actually, ma'am, we have a much better source of verification," I said, pointing directly up at the ceiling right above her head and then pointing to the corner behind the register. High up on the walls were 3 high-definition commercial-grade security cameras. One was aimed directly at the customer side of the counter, another captured the entire entrance and floor space, and a third captured high-fidelity audio along with the video. Our entire store is covered by a surveillance system that records continuous video and audio, I explained to the officers, maintaining a completely polite and unbothered tone. The footage is saved directly to a secure local server right in my back office. It takes about 30 seconds to pull up. The moment I mentioned the cameras, Mary's fake tears instantly stopped drying up. Her eyes went wide and her jaw dropped slightly. It was the quintessential shocked Pikachu face meme. She had been so blinded by her own rage and arrogance that she hadn't even bothered to look up and notice the very obvious security domes installed throughout the ceiling. "Officer," I continued, "if you would like to step into my office, I can play the footage from the exact moment she walked into the store. We can hear every single word she said, see exactly how far apart we were standing, and verify whether I ever touched a single hair on her head." "That sounds like a great idea," the lead officer said, nodding. "Let's go take a look." And Mary suddenly panicked. She realized that her entire elaborate lie was about to be completely demolished on a digital screen in front of the police officers she had summoned. "Wait, no, that's completely unnecessary," she stammered, her voice cracking as she tried to stall. "The cameras might be rigged or edited. You cannot trust this equipment. Besides, I don't want to waste your valuable time over a minor misunderstanding. I think it's best if we just drop the charges and I take my business elsewhere." "Ma'am," the second officer said, stepping in front of the door so she couldn't just slip out, "you called the police and reported a violent physical assault in progress. That shifted this from a minor misunderstanding into a potential criminal offense. We're gonna look at the footage." I led the 2 officers into the back office, leaving my cashier at the front counter. Mary was forced to wait out in the store under the watchful eye of the second officer. It took me less than a minute to log into the security system, pull up the timestamp from 20 minutes prior, and the video was crystal clear and the audio microphone captured everything with perfect clarity. The officers watched the monitor in complete silence as Mary entered the store, arrogantly demanding free gas, and threw a fit over being denied a discount, and then boldly lied to the dispatcher while standing completely untouched, a full 4 feet away from me behind a solid counter. The lead officer let out a slow whistle. "Well, that's about as clear a cut as it gets. Not only did you never touch her, you didn't even raise your voice. She completely fabricated everything. And she wasted city resources to do it," the second officer added from the doorway. "I would like to file a formal complaint for a false police report, filing a fraudulent claim, and disrupting a business." I told him calmly. "You've got the rights and the evidence for it, Chief." The lead officer agreed, writing notes in his ledger. "Let's go take care of this." When we walked back out into the main store area, Mary was pacing around like a caged animal. The moment she saw the stern, uncompromising looks on the officers' faces, she knew she was completely cooked. "Mrs. Mary," the lead officer said, stepping up to her, "we have reviewed the surveillance footage with full audio, and at no point did the business owner assault you, approach you aggressively, or make any physical contact with you whatsoever. You intentionally lied to an emergency dispatcher and attempted to falsely accuse an innocent citizen of a violent crime." "It was a joke," she suddenly yelled, her voice reaching a frantic hysterical pitch. "I was just trying to scare him into cooperating. You cannot penalize me for that. I'm a taxpayer. I'm the HOA president. Do you know how much influence I have in the city?" "Ma'am, you are under arrest for filing a false police report and malicious mischief," the lead officer said, reaching for his handcuffs. "Turn around and place your hands behind your back." Well, that was the exact moment Mary completely lost whatever tiny shred of sanity she had left. The realization that she, the untouchable wealthy queen of the local subdivision, was about to be put in handcuffs in a public gas station caused her to have a total unhinged meltdown. "No, get away from me!" she screamed, dodging away from the officer. In her blind, furious panic, she turned around and decided to take her rage out on my store. She grabbed a large metal display rack full of expensive imported chocolates and shoved it over with all her might. The rack crashed to the floor, sending dozens of glass jars and boxes scattering and shattering across the tile. She then lunged towards our coffee station, grabbing a freshly brewed, steaming glass pot of coffee, throwing it violently against a wall, where it smashed into 100 pieces, splattering hot liquid all over our clean paint and near an electrical outlet. She started ripping bags of snacks off the shelves and throwing them at the officers, screaming like a banshee. "I will destroy this place! You ruined my life, you dirty little store owner! I will burn your business to the ground!" she shrieked, kicking a stack of plastic beverage crates. The two officers did not hesitate. They lunged through the mess, grabbed her flailing arms, and skillfully brought her down to the ground. She was literally screaming, kicking her legs, dragging her clothes through the spilled coffee and crushed chocolate on the floor, and within seconds they had the handcuffs clicked securely around her wrists. They hauled her up to her feet, her expensive hair now completely ruined, covered in coffee stains, and looking utterly disheveled. The smug, untouchable aura she had walking in was completely gone. She was sobbing hysterically now, but they were not the fake tears from earlier. This was the genuine panic of a bully who had finally hit a brick wall. "Please stop, this was a mistake," she begged, her voice cracking as they began marching her towards the sliding glass doors. "My husband will sue you. You cannot do this to me. Think of my reputation. Please let me go. I'll pay for the gas. I'll pay for everything." But the officers did not listen to a single word. They marched her straight out of the store, past a gathering crowd of onlookers who had stopped their cars to see what the commotion was, and stuffed her into the hard plastic backseat of the patrol car. I did not let her off the hook, not even a little bit. The next day my lawyer and I went down to the precinct and provided them with a copy of the high-definition surveillance footage along with an itemized invoice for the damage she caused during her temper tantrum. Between the broken display rack, the ruined imported goods, the professional cleaning required for the coffee-splattered walls, and the business disruption, the total came out to a hefty sum. Because the evidence was completely bulletproof and undeniable, Mary's expansive private defense attorneys realized they had absolutely no leverage. They tried to call me to offer an out-of-court settlement if I agreed to drop the criminal complaints, but I refused to take their calls. I wanted the full legal process to run its course, and I wanted a hard, unyielding boundary. Mary ended up having to plead guilty to multiple charges, filing a false police report, malicious mischief, vandalism, and resisting arrest. Because it was her first criminal offense, she managed to avoid severe jail time, but the judge showed absolutely no leniency regarding the financial and administrative penalties. She was hit with a massive court fine and ordered to perform an extensive number of hours of community service and forced to pay my station full restitution for every single cent of damage she caused, down to the last broken jar of chocolate. But the absolute best part of the consequences was not the legal fine, it was the neighborhood fallout. The subdivision residents found out about the entire incident almost immediately. Someone who had been at the gas station during the arrest had taken a video of Mary being hauled out covered in coffee stains and screaming like a lunatic, and they posted it directly to the local community Facebook group. The homeowners were absolutely mortified by what they saw. They discovered that their highly esteemed HOA president had gone to a neighboring business to demand free perks using their name, had lied to the police, and had committed blatant vandalism. A group of furious homeowners launched an emergency petition and called for a special board meeting. Within 2 weeks of her arrest, Mary was unanimously stripped of her title as HOA president in absolute disgrace. Furthermore, the new HOA board sent an official signed apology letter to my station, completely distancing themselves from her actions and ensuring us that she didn't speak for the community. So now, Mary is a complete outcast in her own neighborhood. As it should be. She went from being the self-proclaimed queen of the estate to a local laughingstock who cannot even walk her dog without her neighbors whispering and pointing at her. She wanted free gas, but she ended up paying a massive financial, legal, and social price instead. And yeah guys, I gotta say, I love that the lawyer's strategy was immediately to please settle out of court, because they took one look at the camera footage of their client literally throwing merchandise and screaming about burning down the building, and they thought, yeah, we got absolutely nothing here, take whatever deal you can get. So yeah, even expensive lawyers know when to tap out. But yeah, let me know what you think about this in the comments. And a user from Reddit said, this is exactly why every single business owner needs a proper camera system with audio recording. I've seen so many small business owners get absolutely destroyed by false accusations because they could not prove what actually happened. OP's cameras literally saved his entire livelihood. The fact that she did not even look up before making her fake 911 call shows how delusional she was. She was so used to getting away with bullying people that she genuinely believed her word alone would be enough to have OP arrested. That level of entitlement is actually scary when you think about it. She was willing to give someone a criminal record just because they would not give her free stuff. And another comment from Reddit said, as someone who served on an HOA board for 6 years, this story is depressingly believable. There's something about that president title that makes certain people lose their minds. I've seen normal, reasonable neighbors turn into power-hungry dictators the second they get elected. The worst part is, though, that HOA presidents like Mary make life harder for everyone else on the board who's just trying to maintain common areas and organize the annual barbecue. We once had a president who tried to fine people for having unapproved bird feeders and another who wanted to implement a neighborhood curfew for adults. So yeah, this position attracts a certain type of personality. And the next one is titled, Messing with an Abusive Superior, posted on r/pettyrevenge. So this was over a quarter of a century ago. Yes, for context, I am old. I was working back then as a truck driver, and well, I had several run-ins with a warehouse supervisor who made up petty rules to mess with the warehouse staff, which meant we had a crazy staff turnover. I'd complained about him to the managers repeatedly, noting that there was a driver shortage, especially of those with ADR, hazardous goods permits, that has never really gotten better, by the way. His favorite thing though was to screw with the staff and make sure their days were miserable, and he also tried it with the drivers by forgetting to tell the schedulers about urgent pickups. I was the last driver back and had called my wife to tell her that I would be back home soon when he told the traffic controller about a pickup of 4 small bins of bolts, 2 head sizes with 2 length, from a manufacturer that needed to be loaded onto an early morning run for the next day. They could have told me about the pickup earlier. It was 30 minutes away from the yard, but was on my way back from my route. I got back after the pickup and he starts crying about how he screwed up my evening plans. All the warehouse staff but him had gone home, and I walked into the general manager's office and told him about what happened. His response was a shrug, so I told that I was going back to my truck to get my kid. I opened the side curtains, unstrapped the load, and shouted to the manager and the warehouse supervisor over. I told the manager that he allows the supervisor to bully people to screw with their lives. You can live with the consequences. I jumped in the cab, reversed hard, and stamped on the brakes, tipping the 4 small bins of bolts up the trailer. You can sort the bolts out and you can stick your job up your arse. Got out of the cab and clocked out. I then called an agency and started in a new job the next day. One of the other drivers called and told me it took them 2 hours to sort it out. Was anyone hurt? No. Just they got a taste of their own medicine. Was it petty though? Hell yes. And the next one is a malicious compliance story, which is titled, You are only allowed to listen to 1 song. This is a more light-hearted MC, but I was thinking about it earlier. So when I was a kid, my dad used to torture my ears on the drive to school with his terrible music. We came to an agreement that I was allowed to listen to 1 song per journey, no matter the genre or what my dad thought of it, and for a couple weeks I got to enjoy a few minutes of bliss each day, but there had to be a way I could make it last longer. Well, that is when I discovered a band called NoFX. Most of their songs are a couple minutes long, except for 1 song, a song called The Decline that is roughly 18 minutes long. I was doing my best to hide my smile when I put it on. It took about 6 minutes before, how long is this damn song? When I said 18 minutes, he immediately turned it off and said, I'm not listening to that crap for that long. I had my song access revoked for about a month. When I was eventually allowed one song again, it was on a case-by-case basis and definitely not anything longer than 6 minutes. It was kind of worth it though, just to see my dad's reaction to an 18-minute punk song. And yeah guys, if you know any super long songs, let me know in the comments and I will see you again tomorrow.